This is Barry Zalma on insurance. I'm an attorney who is retired from the practice of law and now spend my time as an insurance claims consultant and expert witness and author and producer of these videos. Today it's time for a little fun and some fiction from my book Insurance Fraud Costs Everyone, detailing a case called The Devil's in the Details. These are stories that come from true crime, but the names and places have been changed to protect the guilty. People who commit insurance fraud as a profession do so because it's easy. It requires no capital investment, the risk is low, and the profits are high. The ease with which large amounts of money can be made from insurance fraud removes whatever moral hesitation might stop the perpetrator from committing the crime. The temptation to do everything outside the law was the downfall of the brothers Karamazov. The brothers had escaped prison in the old Soviet Union by immigrating to the United States. In their hometown of Volgagrad, they were well known to the local police. The brothers had conducted crime waves in the town since they turned 10. They were involved in burglary, armed robbery, smuggling, drug dealing, and prostitution. To avoid arrest and a long sentence in a Siberian gulag, the brothers invented a Jewish mother. They were then eligible to leave as victims of religious persecution. Their application for a visa to the United States as seekers of religious freedom was accepted immediately. The Save Soviet Jewry organization, who knew nothing of their criminal background, financed their trip to the United States. Upon their arrival in the United States, they met with acquaintances from the Soviet criminal class who had also escaped to the United States. They learned that the police were quite effective at catching and prosecuting strong-armed criminals, but had little concern for perpetrators of insurance fraud. The brothers, being dedicated criminals, realized that they must become familiar with American language and American procedures. They spent their first year in the United States living off the money they were able to smuggle out of the Soviet Union. They studied English and American business procedure at a local high school and learned English as a second language. One of their classmates in their English as a foreign language class was a salesperson for Blue Sword of California, a health insurance. They bribed their classmate to sell them a health insurance policy so that they could learn how the system worked. Pleasantly surprised, the brothers learned that if they sent a bill from a health care provider to Blue Sword, a check in the same amount would arrive in the mail. No one would telephone the provider or verify that the services had been rendered. All they needed was the proper form filled out in the proper manner. From what they learned in their business class, they created their first business entity, Mobile Medical Services. The filing of a fictitious business name statement showing that the brothers Karamazov were the owners of Mobile Medical Services was enough to put them in business. The plan was simple. With money obtained from a small business administration loan fund set up for recent immigrants, they would lease a Ford Econoline van. They would then lease various pieces of medical testing equipment from local vendors. The fact that they had no experience or training in the operation of such equipment was simply irrelevant. All that was necessary was that the equipment looked real. They were immediately provided a loan from the SPA to pay the first 3 months' rent on the van and equipment. They visited their local instant printing shop and had a flyer printed using the most seductive of all advertising tools. The flyer said only in 40-point type, "Free medical testing," and in much smaller type, "Only for union members and government employees." They then set their van up in a parking lot of a local grocery store and waited for the customers to come in. Each person coming in for free medical testing would fill out a form and assign all of their medical benefits to mobile medical services. They would be seated on an EKG machine, weighed, and have their blood pressures taken. They would then be sent on their way. The brothers Karamazov created a totally fictional account of the medical testing performed on each of their walk-in clients. All of their clients had insurance or were military dependents covered by the Champas system. The billings were created with the assistance of their classmate, the insurance agent, and averaged between $800 and $1,400. Each was justified by a diagnosis of one serious disease or another, ranging from pneumonia to cancer. The brothers sent their billings directly to the insurers of the individual customers. The billings were normally paid without question, although the insurers would reduce the amounts billed by 20 to 30%. Every 2 months, the brothers would file bankruptcy for their fictitious business and return the equipment to the lessor, who knew better than make a claim on a bankrupt estate. Investigation by the lessor found that the original business had disappeared and its owners were without assets. They would write off the debt. The brothers would then start a new LLC or fictitious business with the assistance of a typing agency and go to another leasing agent who would find them new equipment. The brothers, within the first 2 years of their fraudulent businesses, had managed to effect gross earnings of $5 million a year. They ended up having 20 mobile vans floating throughout the states of California, Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico. Their profits grew exponentially. Each van was insured. When a lessor got close to repossessing a van or its equipment, it would accidentally catch on fire on the freeway. The brothers would recover the total value of the equipment and the van. The lessors not named on the policies would be without recourse. Had the brothers, from their generous earnings, honestly purchased the medical equipment and the vans, they would probably still be making millions in medical insurance fraud. However, the adjuster assigned to investigate the accidental fires had attended a class on automobile arson given by the California Conference of Arson Investigators. It became obvious that the van fire was intentionally set. He reported this fact to the Fraud Division of the State of California Department of Insurance and to the local fire department arson unit. The insurer retained counsel to examine the brothers under oath about the fire to the van. They refused to testify. Their claim was denied, since an examination under oath is a condition preceding to the insurance policy, and the breach of that condition eliminated coverage. The brothers did nothing to enforce their claim. They just went on to another insurer. At the Fraud Division, when the fire was recorded into the computer, it noted 4 other reports concerning the brothers. It appeared they were unrelated, but an investigator was assigned to look into the brothers Karamazov. As the investigation proceeded, the fraud division learned more facts about the brothers that required a team of fraud division investigators. They were joined by investigators from the United States Postal Service and the Department of Health and Human Services. The team worked for 3 years developing a prosecution against the brothers Karamazov. When indictments came down, the investigators had established that the brothers were involved in fraud totaling over $80 million. Before they could be arrested, the brothers returned wealthy to Russia. They were certain that they had succeeded in the fraud of the century. On their return to the former Soviet Union, they lived like kings. They considered themselves inviolable. Confident in their skill as criminals and tired of living in the Urals, they took a holiday to the south of France. When they arrived, their names were noted by Interpol, who contacted the United States Marshal Service at the U.S. Embassy. The brothers were arrested and extradited to the United States with the blessings of the French government. They were tried in U.S. District Court in Los Angeles in what was a very lengthy trial that involved the brothers and dozens of their co-conspirators. 2 of the brothers pled guilty and 1 was convicted after trial. They are all serving time in a federal penitentiary. They have been ordered to make restitution and pay enormous fines. However, the chance of the insurers ever recovering any of the $80 million to $2.3 billion they admit they stole is minuscule. Whatever remains of the assets they took with them to Mother Russia, as well as those protected in banks in the Cayman Islands and in Switzerland, will stay in their control. For the brothers Karamazov, the extent of their greed was their downfall. Crime paid very well for 3 years, and now they are paying for their crime in the federal penitentiary, knowing that when they are released, they will still be wealthy, since the U.S. government was unable to track down their assets and seize it. This video was adapted from my book, Insurance Fraud Costs Everyone, and is one of the more than 80 stories in that book of insurance fraud that either succeeded or failed. It is available from Amazon.com as both a Kindle book and as a paperback. And if you enjoyed this video and the story it told, please convey it to your colleagues. It's free. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel and my Rumble channel and my blog so that you can be advised of future blog postings and future videos. Thank you for your attention.